As I live and breathe, it's Kabatsu. A true video maker has entered the fray. Maybe. We'll see.
I don't know. This guy's weird. He just follows me wherever I go. I can't get away from him. Help me.
Look, pal, we have a video to record here, so...
Okay, fine. If you really insist on doing this thing that way, then I guess we'll just do it that way. Hey there, people, how you doing? It's Kabatsu with GamerCal here, once again.
Hello again.
Hello again. Hello.
We start off on a good note here, as you can see.
Yeah, we're starting this off pretty good because we're pretty good in high spirits. But one more time with good measure for this year. Recording this right as the year's ending. So, happy New Year to everybody out there. In case you missed it, New Year's just happened. In case by the time this video comes up.
The last one.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But on a positive note, though, in case you missed it, RWBY Volume 4, Episode 7 just released onto the public. Yeah, see? So, yeah, it's free to watch, so if you guys want to see that, help yourselves to it. But yes,
Clearly Crow has a Tommy gun. You know, that's the big draw.
If he were Old Western, he would have a Tommy gun. You know he would.
Let's be honest.
Like, if it were up to him, he would probably have a Tommy gun. But that's speculation at this point. But yes, as usual, we're just going to be discussing about the episode that just released lately, so if you guys want to join the conversation, you can comment on that or whatever, or if you just want to watch it yourselves before you start watching this, you can do that first. Why would you ever watch this before you watch the episode? I'll have no idea.
Yeah, because spoilers, duh.
Spoilers. Maybe somebody wants to watch it and have spoilers happen, because, screw all, I just want to know what happened because of this guy. Like we'll ever have that popularity. like we'll ever be popular enough that people want to hear our opinion first before they watch the episode. If that happens, I'm gonna have to hurt somebody because that shouldn't happen. And on that note, then, starting off this whole entire episode here, we start off with going back to Oscar, of all people, who is reading and just being told that dinner's ready. Before he gets down there, though, hello, I'm Professor Ozpin. Which, yeah, Ozpin is trying to tell him that they need to hurry, they need to go and get out of there, because Ozpin apparently really needs to get somewhere, and Oscar's the only one that can get them there, because Ozpin seems to be... Ozpin's alive, first and foremost, as we already know, but not in that sense. He has no body. I'm going to skip ahead and just say it now. Ozpin somehow has merged himself, aura, body, soul, mind-wise, everything you can think of in spirituality sense, has merged with Oscar, and I was wondering how and why was it that Oscar chose this young little boy, of all people, being the farmhand and such. Like, where's the connection between Oscar and Ozpin? Did they just have that connection of wanting something more to do, or did they meet somewhere and know each other, or just why did Ozpin choose Oscar to share this body and such with? Well, not share the body, but like share the minds. That they essentially become one at this point. But this question is still there. Why? Why Oscar?
Who knows? Maybe he didn't actually choose.
I wouldn't think so. But on top of that, though, Oscar is very defiant on not having Ozpin in his hand as well.
Yeah, it's very clear that this isn't their first conversation since, hello, I'm Professor Ozpin. So, it's very clear that they've had this sort of talk before. And, yeah, Oscar's not very happy with it, to say the least.
No,
I think any normal person would be the same reaction in his shoes.
Yeah,
like,
if they were to have...
imagine that.
Yeah, if they were to listen to voices in their head saying, don't do this, do that, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you would probably want to just say, no, flat out, no, screw off, I don't want to do any of it. Just don't listen to the voice in your head. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
Just stay in denial. Just stay in denial
Yeah,
that it exists.
I feel like the first thing you would maybe think of is, is this schizophrenia? That sort of thing, you know, you would think, is this like some sort of mental disorder, right? Am I going insane, basically?
Yeah.
Is probably the first sort of thing you would think with that, you know, it's like, oh god, somebody's talking to me in my head. It's like, that's not normal, you know, or multiple personality type thing. It just, yeah, you would not want to believe it in the slightest.
No, Oscar definitely shows that he would not want to accept it in any other sense of word. But it's happening. But on top of this, though, they're not just sharing like the mind or whatever. Apparently, during the conversation, Ospen asks Oscar if he knew about the head counselor or
headmaster's office.
Headmaster, yeah, that's the better. Headmaster of Haven, and was wondering if he could recall or visualize the room that the headmaster lives in the school. Oscar slowly tries to remember what happened, including a moment where he says, and there's a tea set in there that I gave him.
Yep.
Why would he say that, though? Because apparently Ospen was the one that actually gave the headmaster of Haven that tea set. And so somehow Ospen and Oscar, they're not just sharing things, they are combining themselves with the memories and everything. They're not just two individuals, they are merging themselves into one, yet somehow having two different personalities.
Yeah, and this is something that Ospen knew, but Oscar obviously did not. And until he tried to recall the information he obviously wouldn't have normally, and it's like, what the hell was that? You know, it's his own reaction. He had no idea about any of Ospen's memories at that point, and it sort of comes out later in the conversation as well. You know, when Ospen reveals that he knows some of Oscar's memories as well, there are memories now. So, yeah, creepy mind-joining magic going on.
Yeah, just creepy magic. Ospen, are you a voodoo magic ritualist? Because we're feeling up some voodoo right here.
He's a witch.
He's a witch. How can a man be a witch? Don't question it. He's a freaking witch.
Burn the witch.
But not only that, though, it gets even more creepy when Ospen reveals that he knows that Oscar doesn't necessarily want to be a farmhand anymore. That Oscar wants to do something more with his life rather than just be the farm boy that everybody knows that he knows himself to be. And he knows this because they're his memories as well. So yeah, they're both sharing these memories, these thoughts, these everything. They're sharing this entity of this subconscious, and it makes me curious in this sense of how do I explain this? When Cinder went and absorbed Amber and absorbed the Fall Maiden's power, if it's true that, through speculation, that Ospen is somehow the wizard that gave the Four Maidens the powers, it wouldn't be outright impossible to suspect that somehow Ospen operates the same way, not being just the maiden, but like he has these abilities in the first place. If he is the original wizard that gave these abilities, it's not far-fetched to suspect that Ospen may or may not have transferred himself into Oscar. And this is why I was asking earlier, why is it that he chose Oscar, or was it subconscious, or was it just random? Or will it just pop into some random person, which I think they actually did say that. If you can't think of anybody, it just pops into a random person, right?
If it's incompatible, if the first person you think of is incompatible, then it goes random, yeah. So say if the first person Maiden was thinking of was a dude, then it goes to someone random. I just kind of thought about someone else with this, though. You know how Salem is treating Cinder, and, you know, was the whole, you need to make that power fear you sort of thing, or dread you. What if this whole consciousness thing, at least to a little bit of an extent, happened to her as well? For a little bit of Amber's consciousness relating, you know, specifically relating to her powers. what if that happened there as well? So, if you will, the powers themselves have a little bit of sentience to it.
Some sort of conscience to it, yeah.
Yeah, and that's how that's why Salem is like, you must make them fear you. You must make those powers dread you, you know?
Yeah. Well, at that point, though, when Salem's trying to make Cinder control it, it's not just... It's just an entity. They're just referring to it as it, not as a person, not as a her or a him. Whatever.
Yeah, because at this point, it's basically aura, right?
Yeah. At this point, it's either aura and abilities and powers. Like, it's just a something. It's something. It's not a person anymore. Amber is long gone, and the Fall Maiden beforehand, if there was, is not there anymore either. It's just this ability that you can possess, which it must have some form of some conscious, sentient life in it, which is why Salem would probably be making Cinder trying to force it to dread, to make it dread Cinder.
Yeah, to submit to her whim. Yeah, maybe, because I'm thinking maybe there's something of, like, Amber's goodness or whatever as, like, part of that. You know, part of its consciousness or whatever. So it's actively trying to resist Cinder because of the nature of that transfer.
Yeah, the nature of it was pretty intense, so to say.
Maybe it doesn't strictly have anything to do with Amber. Maybe it's just like the power itself has that sort of.
Yeah, it's just another. It's just another theory at this point. Nothing really special about it. It's just another.
Yeah.
It's just another form of speculation. But that's just, again, it's just speculation. But aside from that, though, oh man, Oscar and Ozpin, I wonder if they're ever gonna get along with each other. Like, I wonder what the end result's gonna be.
Yeah, that's gonna be an interesting one, I think. I'm starting to think with how far in we are into this volume at the moment that we might not end up at Haven at the end of it all. So we might not actually get that sort of any of that sort of answer in this volume.
They never, Ranger never said how close they are to how Haven. I mean, it's widely to be considered that they might not be as close as they think, but still, I'm wondering how close they are in comparison.
Yeah, but well, we'll discuss that one as we go along. Because,
as we go along, because they're still.
Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, I want to talk about the ending. Dang it! We're talking about the end of the season now. All right, so spoilers. But before we get there, let's
Everybody dies.
Sad day.
Well, it is the end of 2016 after all. Sad days are pretty much all it is.
Okay, so picking up back to where we left off, though, taking baby steps at a time. Then, after that little dispute with Oscar and Ozpin, we come back to where Weiss is sitting there getting scolded by Jauques, who is certainly not happy with this, with how Weiss is acting, because he's trying to uphold the Weiss name, or the she name, trying not to drag it through the dirt and whatever. Weiss just simply says that she is not dragging it through the dirt, and she's trying to uphold the she name as best as she can. A name that Jauques married into. And that's when Jauques approved child abuse. With this firm smack to the face that just shows that Jauques does not want to tolerate this kind of behavior, and Jauques, you can tell he just wants to be a controlling, conniving little, this controlling guy that just wants to control over his children. Which, I'm wondering how much has Jauques abused his children, other than Whitley, because Whitley has been nothing but supportive with the whole of father and the She Company and trying to be all that, while Weiss is just being this defiant child and trying to not follow this mindset that her father is forcing her into.
I was gonna say that line, the whole married into thing, would have been a massive bombshell if it wasn't for the World of Remnant thing, you know. It would have been a like, oh, what the fuck sort of thing.
Yeah.
But that's kind of why I like those parts and whatnot, even if it does sometimes interrupt the pacing, and especially for this volume, because I don't feel like it's really right for that, for in an episode like this, for that to be the first time that you hear that sort of information.
Yeah.
I do really like the idea of expanding the world through separate shorts and whatnot, and it really helped, I think, for this one, because it really kind of showed a lot of what, yeah, you could get a guess of what the conversation was going to go like before it actually, you know, really happened, and you knew some of the back details that were going to underpin that. Like, you understand where Weiss is coming from when she's saying my grandfather's legacy, not your legacy, right? Really understand why she is of that mindset. It's
and it's not just her trying to carry the Schnee name by just following this company. Weiss wants to carry the Schnee name by becoming the huntress, which I guess the original Schnee was in fact either a hunter or just not this controlling business person that Jauques is right now.
Yeah, Grandpa Nicholas was a huntsman himself, so he did all of the busy work as well with it. He was the one who led the expeditions for the mine to find the new dust sources and all of that fun stuff. So yeah, that's where the whole reputation came in, and that's why Jauques is kind of ruining all of that.
Yep, Weiss respects Grandpa Schnee because Grandpa Schnee is the one that was the hunter when went out there in the first place to even do this in the first place. Then Jauques comes in and just ruins everything. And just like that, Jauques is also ruining this by grounding Weiss, keeping her in her room, in the mansion, whatever, and just keeping her out of the public eye so that she would just stay out of it and just be in eyesight of Jauques and know exactly where she is and what she's doing and such. Just once again being that super controlling father figure, just making sure that the child stops acting out and just starting to rebel or something like that. Just controlling fathers is a hot button. But on top of that though as well, with how controlling he is, it gets even further than that when Weiss tries to show dead set as to why he would be doing this, because people will question about this. People will question why the heiress isn't there, or what happened to her. Is she okay or whatever? They'll just ask questions about it. Which is why Weiss is no longer the heiress to the Schnee Company. I guess that last action was the turning point to his decision on that, and thus Weiss loses the heiress title, and it is given straight to Whitley.
That bastard.
Yeah, that's all you can really say about that one. But I'm wondering if it, I know Jauques was trying to be the controlling guy and trying to be that father figure. And I'm pretty sure everyone will ask, was that really necessary? Well, think of how Jauques wants to run this company as a business. Not as a company, not as a group of family just trying to run this place together and just ship whatever. But he wants to run a company, and he knows Weiss is not the kind to run this kind of thing. So Whitley's the one that is going to be the heir now. But that raises another question. Was that as planned? Because after Weiss figures out, he runs outside to confront Whitley, trying to find out if Whitley did in fact plan this whole thing to become the heir over Weiss after Weiss acted out, and Whitley has been nothing but supportive to everybody in the family. But one thing I want to mention with this one scene here, is it just me, or is Whitley just super glowy? Is it just a nitpick on the graphics and of the episode here, the visuals of it as well? Whitley just looks super glowy with his super white skin and just is emitting this glow from him, and looking at Weiss in comparison, Weiss just kind of has that regular skin tone, which I'm wondering if that's like a bloom effect for Whitley to show.
Yeah, it might just be a bug in the lighting engine that ended up causing that. I wouldn't be too surprised if that was the case, where, you know, they obviously wanted to give some brightness to it because of the lighting outside, giant windows, all of that fun stuff. But maybe the engine bogged down, went overboard with that. I'm not a graphical designer, so I wouldn't really know, but that would be my sort of suspicion.
Well, that's. I just looked at that, and it was a graphical George was thinking, is Whitley God? He glows so much. You just gaze at him and look at him. He just glows. He's perfect. Oh. That was just a stupid thing I'm looking at, but I'm pretty sure that was just a graphic thing, graphics, and whatever. But yeah.
Next you'll be saying they'll be chucking holy hand grenades around.
Oh boy. Oh, I don't know yet. Oh, those were the days. But on top of that, after that though, with Whitley confirming the idea, the possibility that he might have planned this whole thing, he just simply exits with the line saying, "It is foolish to not do what father asks." And that look that he gives right at the ending when he says that, it just shows that Whitley does have a little bit of another side to him that's not just this prompted, primp and Mr. Suave looking character here. Whitley has a demon inside of him somewhere, and he was ready to unleash it if things didn't go as planned.
Yeah, he shows his true colors with that line. Yeah, definitely. It's like his real intentions behind this stuff, and it's almost disappointing. Like, you knew he was full of shit, but
yeah,
I think did I call that at some point? Like, is it obvious thing? But it's like, I think I remember saying something a bit worse than that, like you were, ties within.
Yeah, you were saying he was like a big villain and he had ties with like Salem or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm still sort of thinking that might be the case.
Yeah.
But because that'd be a really interesting turn for them to go later on down the line. Is you know, like, now that he is the heir of the company, his next step would take out father, get the company, right? That could be a next step.
Oh, Whitley, you just have that charming sense of inside you that just makes somebody want to smack you across the face. Much like the same way Jauques did.
Yep.
So, after that exchange, Whitley walks away. Weiss goes in her room to somber a little bit. But then, while looking outside after having a moment to let the emotions out for a little bit, she reorganizes her room a bit, I guess to just show, hey, I'm not this primp and straight, neat and tidy person anymore. My room is decorated however I want it to decorate. Okay. I thought she was actually going to try to block herself in, like lock the doors, barricade the windows, and all that, rather than just move everything aside just by a bit, and not have it be in this picture-perfect setting. But, yeah, that's just a nitpick.
Yeah, I mean, the obvious idea behind that is that that's the sort of thing that a family like that would scold you endlessly for moving all the furniture around and for it not being in a perfect picturesque spot and all of that stupidity. Mm-hmm. So clearly that is an act of rebellion. After that, it's like, well, you know, that's it. I'm no longer respecting you in the slightest sort of thing. Yeah.
So now Weiss is just going to become that. So now Weiss is going to become that spoiled little brat that everyone knows, just because their parents are spoiled brats as well. But on top
so basically, Weiss is going to be like the emo side of Blake.
I was thinking Weiss is just going to be more Weiss with just being this defiant person. I do things my way. So Weiss is turned to super Weiss. Just Weiss.
Oh god, super Weiss. Okay.
I don't know. That's like Weiss was already primped and just high mighty and just does whatever she wants before, but now she has a reason to do so and is doing it to her own family. Like, I do what I want. Yeah.
So now she's just gonna hold her arm out and she's gonna fly through that window, right? You know.
Take the sword and just dive out the window with the sword out. Super Weiss away!
Yeah, she's gonna do the same. She's gonna have that same pose that Sanai has as a playable character in all of the games. You know, that's exactly the pose that she does. So
you can see that too, because with Sanai, she glides above the ground as well. So it's not to say that Weiss wouldn't glide above the ground with the weapon in the arm, just ready to dive towards the enemy and just. It's so stupid. But before she turns to Super Weiss, she brings out the weapon and shows that she's ready to get back into training and becoming the huntress that she is. Which she has a sword with her. Their parents didn't bother.
Stupid question. What the fuck is her sword doing in her room?
Yeah, you had a gripe about this when you first saw it.
Yep. I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. Like, what the hell is that doing in her room? You know, if you're like, the whole purpose of Jauques bringing her back to Atlas in the first place was to keep an eye on her, right? Was to protect her,
make sure she doesn't act down or whatever.
Basically, make sure she doesn't ruin the company in his eyes, which, you know, obviously, you know, that's full of shit. But if that was your goal, why the bloody hell would you keep that weapon in the room, along with all the dust files?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Like, if you're taking your daughter prisoner, basically, the first thing you do is you make sure that they don't have a fucking gun, right?
No guns, no weapons, no swords, no nothing. Like, you're grounded from doing anything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, if you're going to jail, the fucking first thing that they would do is take away any sort of weaponry that you could have, right? I mean, this isn't even the minor thing either. This is a fully fledged, like, really good weapon.
Yeah. Like, it looks like it's like an Heiress weapon as well. Like, she was handed that through her father and such. Just having that weapon ready to be used whenever and wherever and whenever. Just bad daddy. And
he's a terrible father, and he's an even worse prison keeper.
As
which
it shows,
is probably for the better, but you know,
nitpicks all around.
Just God,
nitpicks all around for everybody, for every sing and every anime ever. Well, either way, she has a sword, so I guess deal with it.
Yeah. It was a bit of an awkward animation when she brought it up to her face as well. That seemed a bit weird, the way that ended up happening. But you know, not the pose or anything that she struck. Just, I don't know. It felt a little bit janky.
Something felt a bit different about it, rather than just feet. Like they used some sort of different animation just for that one part alone. But again, this is all nitpicks. I'm pretty sure this is all again with that graphical thing that with Whitley being glowing and such. I'm pretty sure it's another graphical thing.
Yeah,
that's happened in the video.
I mean, it's not as if they're unaware of this sort of thing, and if they had infinite time, of course they would iron out all of the stuff with this too. But you have to remember that despite how many people they will have working on this stuff, they do end up bringing out these things once every 1 to 2 weeks, and they do usually work pretty much until it gets released on it. So it's not through lack of trying. I still feel like it's important to point some of this sort of stuff out.
Just in case I'm not aware somehow that this kind of thing is happening, rather than just watch it and just notice it again later on. It's like, guys, you're not working on this at all, or what?
Yeah.
But this is all just nitpicks, with just small little scenes here and there. But we move from the small scenes to the bigger scenes here, where we cut back to when Tyrion and Crow meet each other. And that's for the first time, because Tyrion somehow knows of Crow and knows that he is a true hunter, as a true hunter has entered the fray and whatever. But I was wondering, how exactly did Tyrion know of Crow? Like, what kind of information was he fed to know of Crow rather than just know of a name that he heard of somewhere? But you brought it up, I think, that it could have possibly been the fact that Crow had been following and trying to track down Cinder's group for the longest time. Cinder and them, they already knew of Crow because of how much Crow has been trying to interrupt them, trying to get in the way, whatever. But with Tyrion being told of Crow by Cinder, I don't know if I could see that happening, honestly.
Yeah,
so
maybe not.
No, maybe not. But so the only thing I would think of is that maybe Crow built up his reputation by being this really good hunter, which, yeah, he's a really good hunter. So I was wondering if it was just by reputation rather than just being told somehow by Cinder's group somehow.
I mean, there is another way around it, because obviously Cinder and her group knew all about Crow, because we saw that from the saving of Amber in the first place, all the way up to Crow versus Winter, and Mercury stepped in, and not even stepped in, but looked at him from the silence going, oh dear God, and went straight to Cinder, blah blah. So clearly they knew about it from there. But it's also plausible that with Salem being so against Ozpin and the backstory that we'll probably maybe never get with that, but hopefully at some point will, it's plausible that Salem knows all about the quartet, Ozpin, Crow, Glinda, Ironwood, that she knows about that secret little society, if you will, and would be able to, reference them from that.
Yeah. Like, I wouldn't doubt that Salem would know so much about Crow and the group. Like, Salem just knows everything at this point. Except for the fact that Salem doesn't know if Cinder actually did kill Ozpin.
And well, it's not as if Crow is a young guy at this point. They've been around for an awful long time, and I imagine his reputation as a huntsman is pretty up there,
Yeah. So yeah, whether Tyrion knows him by reputation or by Cinder or by Salem even for that matter, it's up in the air. Who knows? Nobody really knows. But one thing they do know, and one thing that RWBY and the group knows now, is that one does not upset the Queen, Salem. So now RWBY and Team Ranger, now they know Salem. They don't only know her name, but they know that apparently she's the Queen, according to Tyrion. Oh, this is gonna be some really good information to know for them, especially after RWBY was just told that Tyrion was here to take her away to somewhere. I don't know if they know they were going to take her to Salem or not, but still, now knowing that Salem is an entity that they know of now, ooh, they're gonna be on their toes everywhere now, aren't they? But that's to be said. That's a given, I guess. But after that, then finally, with Crow and Tyrion finally getting over their talking, I think they're done talking now.
Took the words right out.
Jumped straight into the battle, and wow, what a fight it was! If it was just Tyrion and Crow, this would have been right on a par with Crow and Winter, with how well they can fight each other and how well they can work off of each other. This fight was really, really good in comparison to some of the other fights that we've seen so far, which was like 2.
Yeah, so
So yeah, we're about to see more fights. Yay! While fighting though, it's just me being nitpicking again, but did Crow take some of his inspiration of fighting from Cloud Strife? Because that little twirl in the air that he did to strike down on Tyrion, it's not the first time we've seen it yet, but seeing it so close up and so so much of it being done in such a way, I feel like, wow, I just saw it and just think, big giant sword, big tough guy, fighting another big tough guy, like, wow, it's Cloudstar fighting another big giant sword guy, wow. I think it was Blade Beam that Cloud uses that remind me of that, but I could be wrong about that. But still, it just reminded me so much of how Cloud would fight in some of his fights, especially from like in Advent Children. I just love the fight scene though, either way.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've read a lot of complaints that people are, why did he use the scythe? You know, he's not going all out if you start, you know, the threat to use the scythe. And well, Tyrion is a big close combat sort of person. The scythe would be a bit more unwieldy there, as obvious experience aside. But as we've seen with RWBY, the scythe just does nothing with Tyrion, right? It's too slow, it's too cumbersome. The sword is much more sort of compact and easier to block stuff with. Yeah. And it wouldn't really make sense for Crow to use the scythe form in this fight.
It's specifically with Tyrion being so close quarters combat with his blades on his arms and the tail of his, it shows that Tyrion is a close quarters combat kind of guy, and he knows how to fight close quarters. And the only guns he has is this short little machine gun that he has on the wrist as well, which no boot gun.
Yeah, sadly no gun boots, but so we're kind of wrong on that before. But it really did look the last time like. Yeah,
it looked and sounded, so a little bit of a misconception, I guess.
Yeah, but it's fine because, you know, he's got the little pistol thingies there, which of course Crow blocks like every shot like an absolute badass. Yeah. But
oh, Crow can fight, and he fought really well against Tyrion. But you know who?
Speaking of badass moments, though.
Yeah, there were some pretty good moments.
That freaking punch in the face.
Oh yeah, that punch to the face that wipes that grin off his face. That's how you do close quarters combat. That's how you actually fight, and Crow knows how to fight. But you know who doesn't know how to fight when there's another fight going on in front of him? Team Ranger. I looked at this, it's a nitpicky again, because I feel Team Ranger wouldn't just sit back and just watch this happening. RWBY didn't, for sure. But you'd think they would actually get into the fight and help Crow out in fighting Tyrion. And they tried for a moment, for like one swing, but that's it. Tyrion just kind of kicks them off, and that's it.
See, you would think that, but I mean, apart from Crow saying "don't come closer," and of course RWBY ignores that because it's RWBY. But well, no, to be fair, she didn't ignore it at first. But apart from that, they did get thoroughly destroyed in the previous part, right? Yeah. I mean, I know only RWBY technically lost all of her aura, but they did get completely wrecked in the previous part, and even supercharged Nora didn't get to do anything. So they were trying to be opportunistic, and when they were told get back, then you know that's a pretty reasonable thing as well. Okay, yeah. Then
it's like, okay, we can't do anything, so just let Crow do this. He knows what he's doing, and he certainly does know what he's doing, because he takes advantage of some of the things he does in his fights, like taking advantage of how. See, this is something that we need to bring up on its own. Is that Tyrion, through the point of the fight with a punch to the face, whatever, he kind of like loses a little bit of his senses. Like he gets a little confused and just kind of sits there for a moment while Crow just slowly walks across the map trying to grab his sword. And I'm guessing that Tyrion just kind of got distorted a bit through the fight, which is why he just kind of sat there for a moment and letting his tail block the shots, but then didn't block the punch to the face. But then you brought it up to the point that he's still a Faunus, and Faunus in general, they see differently. It didn't say how, it didn't say why technically, by night vision, I guess. But
yeah,
they still but they still see differently. And maybe that was the case of what happened here. Maybe he just kind of saw differently on what to do and how to handle how to handle the situation to some degree, because it was during some of the middle of the fight. They get on the roof. Crow sees a beam that was half broken, and he jumps across him. And Tyrion tries to pay focus onto Crow, but then he lands on the piece of wood and he just falls through.
Yeah, he just dive kicks the beam instead of Crow.
Like
it's kind of dumb.
He tried to land on it, but he just kind of falls straight through. Which is that just Tyrion not having that sense of sight that he should for seeing something like that happening? Or I'm wondering if some of the parts of the fight here with Tyrion and such, I'm wondering if it was just the weird way of animating the fight scene. Like, I feel like there were some drawbacks to this fight. As good as it was, there was just some moments I really felt out of place. Like, something about this fight didn't 100% flow with how good a fight it could be. Like how with Crow and Winter went through. That felt like 100% good flow, but this, I felt there was a little bit out of place moments with how they would handle it. Like, I don't think Crow would have just walked by nonchalantly, grabbing the sword or whatever. You would think he would run across the thing to grab his sword again, and then come straight back to just to stab Tyrion or something.
No, he's too much of a badass for that. That was the haters gonna hate walk. He was coming with that, He is far too much of a badass to just, dash over and grab the thing that way. I mean, why else would he stop for freaking seconds after slicing that beam to, with RWBY there, when both of them completely took their eyes off of Tyrion, right? And both of them have had their aura drained, so you would think they would be a little bit more cautious, shall we say?
Yeah.
But they just kind of stood there smiling at each other until scratch. So,
yeah, simple scratch. Like, that's all it takes. It's a simple scratch. But remember, Tyrion's a scorpion. That's stinger. A stinger is where all the venom is. So
and his eyes were purple as well, so he was definitely channeling that.
Channeling a little bit of a stinger or such. Well, he did stretch that stinger out like quite a bit. So
yeah, you see fucking Mr. Elastic over here as well, like that Fantastic Four guy.
Yeah, like able to stretch and then retry to stinger or whatever. Well, I did bring up the point that I was wondering if he was hiding it because we didn't see it in episode 1 because he didn't have his coat on and such. So maybe he's able to hide it and bring it out and stretch it and shrink it. And I don't know. The stinger is a little bit weird being that rubbery.
But he won't be able to do it anymore, though.
Nope, he stretched a little too far because just after that, RWBY just decides, swing, cuts the stinger right off, and yeah, Tyrion's ready to not. Tyrion stops the push because with his tail cut off, he's done. He's not gonna fight anymore. She'll forgive you.
You'd be a little bit surprised that nobody jumped on him after that, right?
Yeah.
That you would have thought, sure, you done damage with the tail or whatnot, but you would have thought RWBY would have maybe attacked him again off of that.
Like try to finish him off right there as well, not just let him go. I mean, I don't know if Team Ranger would. Crow probably would. If he wasn't injured.
Already,
yeah. But I don't think Team Ranger, RWBY, Nora, John, and Ren, I don't think any of them would have done it. I don't think they would have finished him off. They would have maybe incapacitated him so that they can like tie him up and such and like question him maybe. But it's missed opportunities, I guess. But aside from that, though, he just simply saying she'll forgive you and runs off. Which, yeah, he failed his mission, so he runs away and just backs off. No, I don't know if he's going to go back to Salem. He's probably just going to go and just wait till he's over his injury.
If he gets over that.
If he gets up from that, yeah. And as they leave, the Crow's sitting there a little injured, out of breath, which, yeah, he's hurt. He has a scratch on him, but he was hit by the stinger. So, is he poisoned? And is he going to, like, suffer for a while. Because we're pretty sure at this point that he's just going to be out of commission for a while because of that stinger injuring him so badly with a scratch.
Yeah, I'm of the belief that he's not dying yet.
Not yet. He's not dying anytime soon, I don't think. But still, with him being so injured, quote unquote, it's still such a scratch.
Just pump some alcohol into him, he'll be fine.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
That's pretty much what he would do anyway, right? So.
Yeah, that's how he always handles things. It's like, if anything goes wrong, take a shot. Oh, life string you back? Take a shot. I bet he takes a shot every time some crap happens. Speaking of taking shots, though, with the group regrouped and just the fight over, they're asking what happened, why is that guy as RWBY, and all that questions. And Crow just simply responds with a very simple line, but one that people should take him notice. That he simply says, "What's your favorite fairy tale?" That's an odd thing to say. I mean, I know why he said it, but it's still an odd thing to say and not just be like, "It's a long story," or I should probably explain something or something like that. It just, he simply requotes this line that Ospen said to Pyrrha, which, that's curious. That is Crow following more, is picking up more of Ospen's slack than he lets on because of explaining things in that way. What's your favorite fairy tale? That makes me think. I thought he was saying it's like, it's your favorite fairy tale, which makes me think, is this following a fairy tale suit that RWBY knows of that she doesn't remember off the top of her head? But when it's confirmed to say, "What's your favorite fairy tale?" then that leaves speculation as to what the conversation may go, and rather than just let it be just its own conversation and just not be like the one from before, because there's going to be a lot of explanation in the next episode, I bet.
Yep. As the title of said episode is indicating. I haven't obviously seen any of it yet because I have not got membership for that, but
yeah,
we shall see that tomorrow.
We'll watch it as soon as it's available to everybody here. So that's about it for this episode. Volume 4, Episode 7. Man, this was a really good episode.
Yep. Since we were on the subject of inconsistencies in that fight, though, I just want to point out one tiny one here. How did Nora and Ren get knocked in the same direction after when they were getting knocked back by Tyrion when they were on opposite sides of him?
I thought it was maybe just because he had a kick. He spread those legs out and just made a kick towards him, I guess.
Yeah, it's just they both got knocked back in the same direction.
Yeah.
From opposite sides of him, and I'm just like, what? How does that work?
Yeah. I'm thinking he just used a double kick just to kick them both in that direction. But, man...
I only have 30 base power, though. That's not gonna work.
Tyrion, 30 base power? No, he probably has 100 base, or maybe 200. His attack is probably way through the freaking roof.
I guess he must have used his E-move for that, then.
He Mega Evolved. He removed the trench coat, he Mega Evolved.
God. He Mega Evolved into Deathstalker Tyrion. Dear God.
Grim Tyrion.
Tyrion
Grim. Digivolve to Grim Tyrion.
Oh, I guess he's just Tyrion Grim now then, huh?
Tyrion Grim. Oh, this episode's been full of laughs and such, but I suppose the last thing I wanted to point it out with at the very end here is that there's a moment when Jauques was yelling at Weiss or whatever. I kept looking in the mirror thinking I was expecting to see the reflection, and there were some points where you just don't see any reflection at some point. So I'm just wondering if they forgot to edit that in there, maybe, because there were some points that it just does. There's some points that you just don't see Weiss or Jauques in that scene.
Yeah, that's weird. I didn't actually pick up on.
Like, the very first thing you see them out of frame, but then you steps forward and then you see them in frame. But then there's a few in between that you just don't see them in the mirror, which...
Yeah. Yeah, there's sometimes you do see him, like the slap, you definitely see, because if you have a look at that, you just see the Weiss's what the fuck expression off of that, you know? Yeah, so it's not entirely absent, but yeah, I didn't pick up on that. Nice catch.
Yeah, I just noticed that and I figured, that was a good time to say it or anything, because I forgot to mention it in the middle of the thing, but whatever. But that's just a nitpick. This episode has been nothing but nitpicks and whatever, but what nitpicks aside, this was still a really good one, and I'm eager to see what the explanation Crow's gonna give in the next episode, because it's gonna show there's gonna be some things. There's going to be some stories told. I can almost guarantee you that. But that's going to have to wait till next time. So I guess we'll just see you all then at RWBY Volume 4, Episode 8. So until next time.
Bye.